It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Now, my favorite part of the show, wherein we guess what's in Tim's background, and I got a streak going. I remember last week I actually guessed it. So now I'm a little scared. I'm thinking you are in a Russian grocery store and you're snorting a bagel right now. Am I right about that, Tim?
You're half right. It's
oh, okay.
I'm sure there's a grocery store here somewhere.
Let me hear
it's
you
IK3.
like it.
It's IK3, the Soviet Gulag, where
Navalny,
where Judge Arogden wants to try to send Trump.
Well, right, because we know actually Trump lightened the whole thing. I think he said to Laura Ingraham, it was kind of like, he didn't say it was Navalny light. He said it was Navalny form or something like that. Even he didn't have the chutzpah to equate himself quite to Navalny. Actually, when I look in the background there, I mean, you know, it looks like a train station on Northwest line of Metra. I mean, you know, it's got a nice brick. Oh, it's wonderful there. It's a good place to drop dead.
It's noon there right now. So
oh my God. Oh, wonderful. It's always noon there. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about Navalny because everybody is lampooned. Well, I mean, this is all tied in with Tucker. You know, he bad timing on Tucker's part. He's called Trump called it a form of Navalny. Okay. So the bad part, I mean, Tucker is quoted, I think before the interview, saying that, well, you know, leaders, everybody kills people. And as we know, Obama killed an American citizen.
I believe it was four Americans.
Yeah. So, you know, we're no better than they are. That's why I thought you were in the metro station behind me. So anyway,
well, I think in the Soviet Union, the trains run on time. That's
the whole thing. That's the whole thing. That's the little.
You just don't like where they go.
Mussolini reference there. Exactly. So, you know, Tucker got caught. I mean, it was a little difficult because he said, leaders kill people. And then Navalny actually was obviously murdered. Of course, although we want to give Putin due process. And then he
maybe he was just vaccinated.
It's possible. And he said it was a barbaric act. I mean, that was one of the great Emily Latella never minds I've heard in the 21st century. Thank you, Tucker, for that one. So at some point, you know, like Newt Gingrich, who's such a suck up, it's unbelievable. He was trying to equate Trump to Navalny, and Jonah Goldberg wrote a tweet, and he starts it off, dude, that's not right. And I remember when I used to have to interview Newt Gingrich long after he'd been the speaker on the radio, and we have to call him Speaker Gingrich, even though, as William F. Buckley said many years ago, he didn't even like calling ex-presidents Mr. President anymore. Who needs to do that? But it's one thing not to call the guy Mr. Speaker anymore, but to call him dude. And of course, this started with Jon Stewart. He's sitting next to Obama, all right, and he's interviewing Obama on the Daily Show in its first the incarnation, which
President Obama or candidate Obama?
President Obama. Okay. And he looks at him and he says, dude. And I was just thinking, that was the watershed moment. Now, it wasn't as big to me, the watershed moment in politics was when we elected a draft dodger, Bill Clinton, to be president. After that, anything goes. You can call the president dude. You can call Newt Gingrich dude.
Well, I think anyway, Obama probably was the first dude president. I think it's. I mean, wasn't that kind of how he behaved? That's how we wanted to be perceived.
No, I mean, you know, I got to dudes will give you a thrill up your leg, and while they're showing you the creased pants, I am getting so many spam calls now. It's ridiculous. You hear that? Okay.
I mean, you know, presidents used to be paternal figures, and I think Obama was the first brother. He was kind of a big brother candidate.
Well, you know, it's interesting because George Washington, really, in a sense, he was the father of our country. And everybody else, especially now that like we're almost as old as the presidents, we're not quite there. But since it's like, why do I have to, pay these guys respect? And that's why it doesn't even matter if you've got one guy who's more senile than the other as the president of the United States. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Isn't that the process of aging though? It's once you're, first you're older than ball players, then you're older than cops.
Yeah.
Then you're older than your doctor.
Right.
Then you're older then you're older than the president.
Which is, so it's kind of comforting that we're not older than the president now.
I was.
But we were older than Obama.
We were older than Obama. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, so we were older than Obama, so it didn't really matter. In any event, so when Mr. Speaker is likening Trump to Navalny, I mean, that's like, I'm kind of like Tiger Woods when I have to run to the bathroom during a golf tournament. Okay, I get that. I get, the equivalence there. Do we really need to go into this? The Russian life expectancy that Tucker failed to mention. How many Russians don't have turlets? We don't really have to go into all this. It's been gone over. That did I tell you? I mean, when you have to agree with Jon Stewart, I mean, that hurts. It hurts to actually, because he did a bit on it, but you didn't even have to be Jon Stewart. There's a guy in Australia who did like a 1-minute bit. Young guy goes into an Australian grocery store, and he goes, oh look, we've got a mister for over the fresh produce. I think we have the right to invade New Zealand right now. So I mean, it was good stuff, and it's so lampoonable. I actually got into a little fight with my former partner, Dan Proft, mentioned often on this show.
I saw a little bit of that.
Yeah. What did you glean from it? What did you see about me?
Well, I saw that you started attacking him out of nowhere for no reason, saying you got to go after Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
And then
so here's what Dan said. I don't know what precipitated this, but basically I was saying that I have heard that he doesn't attack Tucker Carlson ever. I've never seen a tweet of his that attacks him. I mean, I don't follow him on Twitter, but I get his tweets all the time, and I've never seen one that attacks him. I've seen all kinds of tweets about everything else, but never one that attacks him or Trump for that matter. But so he says, please see my previous comment if you can muster the attention span. You're assuming facts, not in evidence, which you've conceded as you don't listen to the show, counselor. Your premise is false because you choose to be ignorant. But here's the thing. I mean, that's a bunch of gobbledygook, pretty good news speak. So I followed that up with, well, okay, here's my question. Is Tucker Carlson full of SH? And he didn't answer it. Okay, so enough said. There's a rebuttable presumption that he won't say anything bad about Tucker Carlson. I'm willing to be shown that I'm wrong, but if you don't say anything bad about Tucker Carlson and you're doing a conservative talk show, to me, you're either willfully ignorant or you're a whore. And I even said that about Sean, the afternoon guy. Both of these guys are like my kids because I worked with Dan and I helped Sean get into the business. So whatever.
How'd you do that? That's a story that we haven't heard.
Sean was a listener to the show, to the WLS show. He'd get on, he'd crack us up on WLS. And Dan initially didn't even want to give him the time of day on the show and I said, no, this guy's funny.
That Sean. That Sean.
Oh, what Sean? Oh, you're thinking of Sean Hannity? Who
yeah, that's the first Sean. That's the first Sean I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, I launched Sean Hannity.
I know that's why I was like that. That's why I went, holy cow, really? Yeah. No, you mean Sean?
Yeah.
That's,
no,
that's
Sean
on,
Hannity is another whore.
Sean's
too,
that's on. Sean that's on while we're on. I think.
Right, WIND. Anyway, all right. So you don't want to hear the rest of the story because it's the wrong show.
No, that's okay. Fine. That's okay. I'm still interested.
No, I mean, there's nothing else to it. But then he gets the job. He gets the afternoon job on WIND. Sean from Elmwood Park. He gets that job
because what's his face ran for the guy the other Joe Walsh. Speaking of two characters, ran for Congress, right? I'm
the only person who's substituted for Joe Walsh on the radio and opened for Joe Walsh, the guitar player, once at the Roosevelt Horizon. But that's another story.
Wow.
But Joe Walsh basically got kicked off because he turned liberal. That's what happened. So he left the station. But Sean, I mean, look, if you can't say anything, I was actually on Sean's show months ago because he had me on, and I railed against Tucker, and this is before Tucker even had said anything about about January 6th. I mean, Tucker's a pile of crap. I mean, that's all there is to it. Okay. So, and the last thing is the PS de resistance. I mean, I don't know. They're people. I mean, there's one listener I know of that station because she used to be a listener of ours. She says, I just love his style. He's adorable. I don't know. I don't believe everything he says. Okay. I mean, if you like being lied to, if that's adorable, I get it. I guess so.
Who are we talking about now being adorable?
Tucker.
Tucker? Okay.
I've got to wash out for my pronoun antecedents there.
Well, no, because you could be talking about Sean because he is kind of adorable, and could be talking about Dan because Dan's adorable.
Dan is very adorable, and so there you go. So anyway, I think we've exhausted the Tucker's Emily Latella moment, and just go find yourself a turlet. Is that a toilet behind you at the? I
don't think there are
train
here.
Station.
There's no toilets in Moscow. It must smell like Mardi Gras.
There are toilets in Moscow and in that train station. Oh my, that's wonderful. The train station, just move, a foot outside of it. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Rap.
I mean, we don't know who did this shooting, by the way, the Super Bowl shooting.
We have some idea.
What?
If it were a white man shooting, we'd know.
You were correct.
Well, we don't know. But
that's how we know it's not a white man. I can tell you that much.
Do you think they were repressing that reporting?
They wouldn't tell us about the transgender woman that shot up the Christian school for like a year? San Bernardino out here. Remember the crazy terrorist Muslims? That's when I first noticed, they're not telling us who it is. It's not a white male. The longer they go without telling you, it's not a white male.
Okay.
I mean, I love it when it's like a guy like Bill Maher or Van Jones can be surprised. I mean, like Ann Coulter was saying anything that we hadn't said or thought immediately. Yeah. I mean, this is the MO. We know who did the shooting as soon as we heard that there were shots. Okay.
Well, no, I didn't.
No. It might have been a white supremacist. Obviously.
No. It's I was thinking that transgender, because we've had a lot of transgender shootings.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
There's a possibility. I put the odds on all of it. I said maybe 25% chance it was transgender.
Well,
it was 50-50 that it was an immigrant. It was 75%, I was guessing, named Mohammed.
Yeah. What's interesting is that, these sports stations, these sports radio stations that always want to get into politics and everything. And this, of course, is the perfect merger of sports and politics, is they're always looking for a hook to talk about politics. So I was thinking, I'm sure that, and also these sports stations are very much dependent on gambling revenue now on the gambling sites, because that's the only thing that's making any money in the US. So I was thinking, wow, probably was interesting. FanDuel was probably giving odds that it was two black teenagers, and you could and place your bets right now. You'll get the first bet free. So, yeah, but as the longer it took for them to divulge any names, and then of course, they didn't want to, it turns out they charged a couple of adults, but and then somebody referred to the adults as thugs, which the Kansas City mayor got very upset about, because you don't want to, because that's a loaded term. Look, I know that Dan Roan, the former sportscaster at Channel 9, finally got into trouble after about 45 years on the air because he called a black basketball player who had absolutely hammered somebody under the boards or whatever, a thug. And then he had to apologize, of course, not the basketball player. Dan Roan had to apologize because that's a loaded word. So, I mean, you just don't call a thug a thug. That's all. You don't do that. So
it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
That's what the mayor was upset about.
It's kind of funny that the mayor said, you called him a thug. That's racist. It's like, oh, so they're not white too, huh, Mayor?
Right.
It's apparently
what's interesting is
the mayor knew. They're not showing them. Oh gosh, it's.
We actually have a tweet somewhere. I don't know if Chris can call it up, but Ray Long of the Tribune had a tweet from a quote from Nikki Haley, and Nikki Haley, I believe in this tweet is criticizing Trump for lionizing thugs like Putin. And well, here it is. Yeah, Haley on Trump. Donald Trump could have condemned Vladimir Putin for being a murderous thug. And I'm thinking, oh my, Nikki, that's a dog whistle to neocons. Sure. I mean, you just don't call Putin a thug, man. So, yeah. But anyway, so we find out that there were 2 juveniles involved in it. Then there were 2 adults that were recently charged about it. So
it was just a gang shooting, right? It was just 2 rival gangs kind of got in a spat, and
could have been a discussion over Travis and Taylor, whether that was a psyop job of the NFL. You never know what people are going to get heated about. Whether Mahomes is the GOAT, don't know if he's the GOAT now.
Yeah, I would bet large amount of money that none of them were Taylor Swift fans.
I mean, that is a dog whistle, my friend. I mean, we just don't know.
because they were male.
Well, right.
They were straight. They were straight male. So
yeah.
Obviously, there's no way.
Yeah. So let's pivot here. So who is Ionescu? That sounds like a philosopher, but it's a female basketball player. And that.
Oh, is that the one that's that's like selling out Northwestern games?
No, that's Caitlin Clark.
Oh, Caitlin Clark. Okay.
Who, by the way, I mean, I don't follow college basketball very much, and I know that March Madness is coming up. I haven't followed. I got burned in an NCAA pool when I was at Channel 5. I had bet on Memphis to get all the way to the finals. That's when Derrick Rose was on Memphis, and they actually made it all the way to the finals, but lost. But then Memphis had to forfeit all its games because Rose had cheated on the SAT, and I had to give back my winnings the next year. Would you believe? From the no, I'm kidding. I didn't have to give back my winnings, but it's just like, and of course, one of my old shticks is that I took the SAT for Derrick Rose, and it was hard. It was difficult. But anyway, no. So this is Ionescu. Is that her name? We have tape of her, and she's hitting all these 3-pointers like she's dropping a sugar cube in a cup of coffee. First woman to compete in a 3-point contest on NBA All-Star Weekend, and she goes out and puts up 26. Sabrina Ionescu. And so my immediate male chauvinist question would be, if she can do that, is that now really worth doing? It was my same reaction to becoming a novelist when Pride and Prejudice came out. What's the point? If Jane Austen can do it, why bother?
Was it you that was just saying that you're no longer interested in basketball because it's just 3-pointers now? There's no more dunking.
Did you see the final score of the NBA All-Star game was something like 211 to 186? There's absolutely no defense.
Oh, it's like bowling scores.
Yeah, that's somebody was saying. Somebody had tweeted that the only people that they wanted announcing that were Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr. Cha-cha. It's going back to announcing.
Yeah, I would not have gotten that joke.
You didn't need to. You set it up. It's fine. So the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, which I believe is in somewhere in Arizona. We have a tweet about that. There are these students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. They're outside, and they are all wearing masks. They're outside, and they're wearing masks. And I'll tell you, I think you get this allusion or reference. I think right now both of us should slowly take our glasses off and stifle a tear. A little Cronkitean tear for where our youth have gone.
And that's the way it is.
Oh my God.
It's obviously not the Dan Rather School of Journalism because then the kids would have courage.
Sure, they would, and they'd be saying crazy things like, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?" and storming out because the last 10 minutes of the U.S. Open bled over into his newscast or something like that. Anyway, so there's a story that Melania Trump, whom they always love to beat up on.
Melania?
Or you spell it Potato, Dan Quayle. Melania was disengaged when she was the first lady. And she just didn't want to pay attention. She was just sitting around in her terry cloth bathrobes during the day. She was very bad. All I can say is, okay, that's fine. But with Jill Biden as the de facto president now, it balances out among the first ladies. So it's okay. It's absolutely all right.
It's Jill's busy because she never has time to pick out an outfit. She just
she wears the same
thing. She doesn't even. It doesn't. In fact, it looks like she hasn't even done the laundry. She's way in the back of the closet.
Oh my God! Wouldn't it be great if she had one of those Fidel Castro or Che Guevara green caps and had the cigar sticking out of her mouth, and it was really down to business. She was a guerrilla. Hey, Chris, this is difficult. I know we got a little time right here. Do you have that picture? There's this woman named Diane. It was she's in a portrait from like the 1950s or something like that. A very sexy pose. I wanted to show it to Tim, tell him what my caption was, but I don't know if you got it right now. And it's kind of difficult. Her name was Diane. I sent that to you. There we go.
Okay.
And if you see the whole picture, my caption for that one, Tim, what would your caption be for that picture?
Do you have a shorter jar?
Well, close. Mine was nice jug. So, all right. I just wanted to get the laugh from Tim. That's all. All right. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
A New York judge is fining former President Donald Trump $355 million. This is for Trump's civil fraud case. The judge finding that he exaggerated the values of his properties and defrauded lenders by inflating the values for years.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So the New York governor said she doesn't want to scare away business from New York because come up with these judgments for fraud cases that don't cost any businesses any money. It might seem like they're anti-business. Yeah. She said, "Oh, don't worry, we're not doing this to anybody else." Now, I can't remember. Is that called a bill of attainder or something? I mean, it's something unconstitutional about that. But in any event, here's the thing: he's in some real trouble here because he's got to come up with money, and if he's going to file an appeal. And it's a lot of money a lot of cash that he doesn't have.
Well, he's got to come up with the money either way, right? I mean, there's no.
Well, I mean, if he winds up appealing and they say it was, an excessive judgment, but we're talking about right now, and he's got to come up with money right now, and he's going to be consumed with that. And this could have been the chess game that the Democrats are playing. I mean, pervert the justice system. Granted, hey, the means.
Oh yeah,
end.
it's there's no question in my mind what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it impossible for him to fund his own campaign.
Exactly. So there you go. So I mean, that was the whole deal, and you can see right through it. Now I did see it,
but here's the irony of it. They're saying that Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million, but now he's going to have to mortgage it for $350 million.
Yeah, no, I just love the perversion. I mean, Washington Post, Biden running on democracy, dying in darkness. Boy, it sure doesn't look like democracy. Obviously, and this is a travesty. Who is Mary Trump? Is that that's the anti-Trump Trump. Isn't she like a sister or something, or a cousin? I can't remember. Something like that. But she got written out of the will, so yeah, she's a niece. She's a niece. Chris says, really funny line from her, saying that she thought that Trump, in order to pay the money, pay the judgment, or pay the bond, whatever it is, was going to sell classified secrets. I just thought that was. I mean, that's like the anti-Tucker. I mean, that's like right from the left. That was great. So let's pivot. I hope he still has a few. You want him to keep it in storage. Hope they didn't take them all back. So Joe Biden, I saw this video the other day, and this is where Biden is walking, I guess, to Marine One, and he actually negotiates the walk just fine, I guess. I mean, it's a little slow, but it's fine. I think he's wearing the new Trump gym shoes. I'm not sure, but in any event, but I just love those are Velcro. Those are Velcro. He can't. Here's the thing: anyone who can't laugh at this despicable man's political career being reduced to the question of whether he can walk a few paces in public has a heart of stone. I mean, the idea. Man, think about it. To the extent that he can even think, when he's walking out and has to go the 10 paces or whatever, that's probably the biggest moment of his day. Can he negotiate that walk? And apparently, like the next day or so, he tripped up the steps a couple of times to Air Force One. But yeah, that had to be an interesting call to Boeing. It's like, can you put in a shorter set of stairs? Right. I mean, it's now going through the loading dock. This guy's long storied career. Think about that, and you're down to whether I mean, Tiger Woods had to withdraw from a golf tournament the other day because he had the runs or something, but he'll be back. I mean, the idea that this is what he's come to, what Joe Biden's come to, and the Democrats, some of them are actually in denial over it. Most of them realize that he can't. Well, that's why, and they don't care. That's why. People keep bringing it up. There's some hope among conservatives that if they point out how badly he walks, that maybe they'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's you're right. He is unfit." We do 25th Amendment time. It's not going to happen. Unless the deterioration. There's not that many months left to the election. Can you imagine what's going to happen once he's elected? If Biden was elected again, I mean, he's going to be on a respirator. You'll never see him. And how's the president? Fine. It's going to be like Woodrow Wilson's last year after he had a stroke. Slip it under the door and he'll sign it. Right. So, meantime, they could get Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham has been operating a dummy that looks a lot like him for years now. So, oh really? Well, there you go. Maybe they could contract Jeff Dunham to make him talk. So, did you see where Charles Barkley? I guess this was during All-Star Weekend. He ridiculed San Francisco. He basically, I mean, I think he said it was just like a bunch of homeless crooks. Now, the great thing about Barkley can say this because he's a black superstar, right? And everybody loves him. there's certain people who can get away with certain things, and Charles Barkley is the one. He could never run for office, though. I don't think, because from that position on the TNT set, he can do that. But
well, he can't run in San Francisco, that's for sure. But I think a lot of people would vote for him elsewhere in the country.
Oh yeah, but no, I mean he'd trip himself up, because everybody, once they see your dirty laundry, it negates any
trip
chance
like
anything.
Biden on the short stairs.
Yeah. So remember Roland Fryer? Do you remember when the two of us met and we auditioned for this show? Chris had a lavish production studio.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Eventually the show shrunk down to, the point where we're going to do this on 2 tin cans. I get it. But we did this audition. That's the day I met you.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-camera shoot.
Studio
at a
set.
Control room. We were just a segment of a show that had a very sexy woman as a news anchor and a young kid in a bow tie. I mean, and it looked like a really funny thing. It never got off the ground. But the segment that we did.
We tried. Look at we're off the ground, Bruce. No. And so we had to jettison a lot of the equipment.
No, I mean,
but we made her airborne.
Yeah, we're higher up than Biden's step. That's for sure. But there was a segment there in which we brought up this guy Roland Fryer, and Roland Fryer is this Harvard. I don't know if he's a sociologist, what his area is, but he's a black guy who had studied police brutality, and he had come up with these findings that, guess what? White cops don't really kill blacks as often as you'd like, or shoot at blacks as often as you'd like to think.
Oh, yeah.
They don't. Apparently, he ran into a lot of trouble because they couldn't believe those results, and they didn't want him to publicize them. So he was on with Barry Weiss, this liberal who's finally seen the light of day. And he was, and I forgot what that tweet said right there, but basically he was saying she was asking him if karma had come because Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard, had been demoted. And yeah, she says, "Do you believe in karma?" And he says, "I hear it's an MFer." So yeah, so it's good. But the thing about Roland Fryer, so he had said white cops don't shoot at blacks that as often as you think, and it's certainly in proportion to the crimes that they commit, it's all well within that. But sure. he had said that white cops did stop black kids or any blacks disproportionately. He had said that. But then Heather McDonald, who's the one who wrote The War Against Cops, and she's on our side on this, she asked him, well, in your study, did you factor for how often there was any resistance to these arrests? And he said no. So it was like, even his finding that was, for the liberal point of view is kind of tainted. But we're happy with him because he's the one who alienated everybody by going against the racial doctrine. So, but I just thought it was interesting that he came back in the news because, Roland Fryer was a topic of conversation.
Oh, there we go. Look at those. Look at those
a long
kids.
Time ago. Yeah.
Oh, there we even had mugs. Yeah. We even had mugs back then.
We had mugs, and I was wearing the suit for probably the last time ever that I wore one. I'm a little less gray there, but still wear the same tie all the time. So when we come back, we got to talk about Audacy. George Soros has bought 200 radio stations, including WBBM, WXRT, and the Score sports station, which I believe my sources tell me is going to be renamed the Soros. Hey-o. And it's not going to be much of a stretch for them because they already have leftist woke commentary by a couple of their hosts. So it's not going to be a big change for them, and it's going to work. It's interesting if they'll actually get rid of the sports format at all. It's Chicago's 50,000 watt virtue signal. You probably don't listen to it. You don't care about it, but we'll talk about all that and much more. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
It is an exceptional moment for Bears legend Steve McMichael. The official word that he has made the Hall of Fame is expected tonight.
And only on our home of the Bears, an exceptional moment for Elizabeth Matthews with McMichael at his home as his team shared the news. Elizabeth. Yeah, guys, we're still awaiting for the official announcement to come out of Vegas, but it seems like after decades of fighting, Steve McMichael is a Hall of Famer. From the defensive line to the Hall of Fame, Steve Mongo McMichael is finally getting his moment.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Now, this is where Tim nods off because we're talking about sports. I'm sorry, but I'll try to get through it real quickly. Look, Steve McMichael, good old number 76. Love the guy. I did a TV show with him 30 years ago. One of the few athletes I've ever actually gone out for drinks with afterward. Then he wouldn't let me go. And he was a little tipsy and he was a big guy, future Hall of Famer. And I couldn't leave. But he's a great guy and he's got ALS now and it's horrible. And you know, the thing with the modern era with Twitter, I'm seeing updates on this guy like every day, sometimes twice a day on every emergency room visit, blood transfusions. And it's just, I mean, it's a little much. I remember when Gene Siskel, who died, like I think it was 25. I want to say 25 years ago. This past week, it's hard to believe.
Died of the same thing as his college roommate,
Tim Weigel.
Tim Weigel. I found that interesting.
Yeah, well, and
I still find that curious.
Yeah, they both worked at Channel 2. Okay, but who knows where they got it at Yale at the same time or what? Who knows? But yeah, it was a brain thing. And I knew Tim. Tim helped me get into TV in Chicago. And I knew Gene, and he was very nice. Everything. But here's the thing. In the last year of his life, there was a de facto news embargo because the media usually protect their own. And you didn't hear anything about what he was going through. I mean, you kind of had to infer that it had to be bad because you never heard anything, which means it had to be bad. But it's just interesting how they would protect his privacy as opposed to Steve McMichael. And it must be the family that's putting this out, but it's just a little much. I guess it's okay. I don't have to look at Twitter, right? But in any event.
Really? You don't have to look at Twitter? There? You don't have to look at Twitter?
Oh, here's the thing. Bob Black, one of the guys who follows me, he tweeted to me, Mongo is loved, Steve McMichael, even though on TV he referred to his wife and the other wives of players on the Bears as the Kotex Mafia. Now, I got to tell you, I saw that. And this is like in the early 90s on Channel 5 on a Sunday night. Steve, and it was a ratings whopper. It was that show, that weekly show he did during the Bears season. And he's sitting on the Channel 5 set, and he's sitting in the seat of the sainted Carol Marine on a Sunday night. I mean, she's not there on the weekends, and he's sitting there next to Mark Giangreco. And so just the place that it was like doing it in a cathedral. And he was making this comment about the K Mafia, and Giangreco sitting there. And to me, that was the high point of Mark Giangreco. And he's the greatest local TV sportscaster of all time. That was the high point of his career until, of course, he called his colleague a ditz on Channel 7 and got fired for it because she was an esteemed black newscastress and he shouldn't have done that. So, but in any event, so yeah, that memories of Steve McMichael. Yeah, I remember that well. So let's switch to something that you do care about. We got a picture. Somebody put a baby picture of Leo DiCaprio up from 1976. All right. And we'll show it to you, Tim, and your reaction. It's with his mom and dad. He's just a baby, Leo DiCaprio. And I'm thinking that there has got to be a causal nexus between unshaved armpits and a penchant for women under 25. He saw that, and I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been females under the age of shaving that he goes for. But I'm always worried that whether this is a real photo or not. But I guess was he raised in France? Was he born in France?
I don't know. I don't know. That's that's right next to his meal center too, isn't it?
And it's gotta be like, come on, Mom, really?
Yeah, and you wonder why. I mean, looking at this picture of his mom and dad is holy cow! It just unshorn hippies.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And you wonder why. You wonder why the guy's liberal.
Yeah. I in one of his acceptance speeches for the Academy Award, he talked about global warming. And we all love that. And I'll never forget Jonathan Taves, one of the great superstars of the Blackhawks Stanley Cup era, tweeted, "Yeah, way to go, Leo. Way to go." And I tweeted back to Jonathan Taves, "Shut up and play hockey." Well, I almost had my jersey pulled over me figuratively by the fans of Jonathan Taves, who said, "Don't you dare tell Jonathan Taves, good old number 19, what to say and not to say." But hey, I haven't seen some good cleavage in at least 5 minutes here. Did you see? There's a picture of Kimberly Gilfoyle on Twitter, mm-hmm. And somebody tweets, and she's the cleavage is rather low there. Somebody tweeted, "There's cleavage that's tastefully done, and then there's this." And a guy tweeted back to me about this guy named Steve Sarich. She said, I said, I tweeted this picture to Paige Spiranek, whom we've talked about before.
Sure.
On this, the golfer, the well-endowed golfer.
Uh-huh.
And Steve Sarich said to me, "I think Paige may have been helped a bit in her endowment, but Kimberly's has the wobble factor verification." So I don't know what's wrong with me, Tim, that I'm putting these pictures up.
I don't.
Am I going senile? Am I like Joe Biden?
I don't mind. I don't mind a little cleavage, but that went kind of far. That was in risk of getting the bends.
That did. Now I don't even know who this is that Chris is putting up right now. I mean, it's a golfer, a female golfer. Apparently, it might be that Paige Spiranek. I don't know. I don't know her by her face.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling though she was in the LIV.
There.
Did you see? Because when you're playing in the desert, you're going to see lots of the camel toe.
Hey, I'm glad I dragged you down with me. That's great. So, this guy Mark Potash, a writer for the Sun-Times. I mean, he's been writing about the Bears since before Sid Luckman, I think. And there's the people are trying to figure out whether the Bears should draft Caleb Williams out of USC or this guy named Drake May from North Carolina. But Potash was very concerned about that. He said he gets too easily dismissed in Chicago because he's from North Carolina and he evokes bad memories of Mitch Trubisky. And all I could say is Michael Jordan also came from North Carolina. Oh, yeah, I forgot he was a baseball player, not a football player. So, in any event, where should we go right now? Where should we go? What do you want to talk about? You got something to plug?
Got a favorite topic? Me? No.
Yeah, I mean, I got other stuff here, but
we out of stories.
No, I mean, I got a ton more. Did you see? Who was it? There's a beer. Oh, Tom Skilling, who's retiring, the Channel 9 weather forecaster, and some local brewery is naming a beer after Skilling. And I was thinking, Dylan Mulvaney can promote it, I'm sure. So,
there's so many beers now that did you see that there's a pump in a forest preserve, an Illinois forest preserve.
Oh, really?
For some reason, I guess the Pope had gone by it and blessed it as he went by it, and now people line up for that the water from that pump in the forest preserve. That it's supposed to be the fountain of, some people say legend is that it's the fountain of youth, and there's a constant line with people with 5-gallon jugs that they want that water, and a local microbrewery.
Wait a minute! Don't make a reference to that woman we showed before with the 5-gallon jugs. Are you saying the Pope went? Did you say the Pope went by it?
Yeah, apparently that's and blessed the pump. And,
speaking of,
and there's a local microbrewery is actually they're calling it like Holy Brew or something. It's made with water from that pump. So, Skilling Bra does not sound.
Speaking of holy things. There's a new group, I believe it's called Jews for What the Bejesus is Going On, because did you see the Siena poll that had Trump up by 9 over Biden in New York among Jews? Now, a lot of people are thinking that's an outlier. It's not real. It's just the Siena poll. But I mean, that's New York.
Yeah.
And for
he's
Trump
a little too cozy, closely with the squad. I think that.
I mean, he's trying I think
the word is out.
For a guy who can't walk, he's really trying to straddle the line very, very deftly. Biden, that is, and he
doesn't know how to get. He doesn't know how to get votes in Michigan. I think that was
right.
That was a story we ignored. It's used to be easy back when everybody in Michigan was a member of the UAW.
Right.
But now it's, all the cars are made in China. So he could be president of China.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's difficult. He's running after those votes in Michigan because Michigan could go to Trump. And while he's doing that, he's alienating, a lot of Jews, but not that many. It's hard to let's see the next poll.
Well, I think there's more Jewish districts in New York than there are Muslim districts in Detroit. So, or Michigan.
But I mean, look, I mean, Biden isn't going to lose New York, no matter what. But
really?
it's going to be too close. I mean, it's going to be closer than he wants, but he's not going to lose it. But I mean, it's indicative of, Jews don't vote based on Israel, except after October 7th. A lot more do, and it's a little bothersome that Biden is flirting with the squad on this, even though his policies so far have been okay. But we'll see how that goes next week. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.